finally finished your drawing, but you realize that there's something missing. So well, let me tell you how you can turn even a piece of crap into an amazing art piece. Also stay till the end for the bonus one. If you're new here, I like to draw characters, I like to learn and draw and basically share the stuff that I know, so you can make more progress faster and better. So when I first started drawing, my illustrations were, pretty garbage at pretty garbage level, but it was super frustrated. Okay, I didn't really know why is that. Like, am I missing something? Am I missing, like, I don't know, like an art advice? Or am I missing, like, is it a skill issue? I don't really know. But throughout my art journey, I learned a couple of actually useful stuff. Basically, I was catching them like Pokemons or something. But now I'm using it and it's useful. It's super useful. So let me share you those 5 tips. So recently I realized that my illustrations are boring, okay? Like the lighting, the overall feeling of the piece is kind of boring. So I tried to experiment with light because, I didn't really know what else can I improve. So I experimented with light and I thought about one thing and I did it. And also, like, I was looking at Pinterest and the ArtStation and I just saw this amazing light. Okay, there was also a lot of AI shit, but but still I realized that there's something that I really like is a rim light, and adding it, basically any light, okay, and adding it made like huge difference for my drawings. So I tried it a couple of times and I think it went pretty good. So what I did, basically when I finished, obviously I had this in mind throughout my whole piece, like the light scenario, where the light will come from and stuff. But yeah, at the end, I just made a new layer on top of everything, set it to multiply, okay? It was like tinted like, I don't know, like dark bluish, something like that, like more to the gray, but like a cold, night light or something. It made my piece darker, which I wanted to, because then on top of that I wanted to add a new layer. So for color dodge and add glow, it's in CSP. You can probably do the same stuff in other programs, but yeah, I added that. So the first, I guess, layer on top of the multiply layer was basically to outline the character, like rim light, and then on the another layer add in airbrush, just glide over those lines and it will make like a bloom effect. I don't know what it's called, but it's in video games. I like it. Yeah, so it was basic as that, and it made a lot of difference. Okay, I've never actually, I actually tried to do the same thing, but back then I just it was a skill issue. But yeah, I learned that, and it's pretty useful. Now, second tip to actually make your painting more interesting is to add textures. Okay, what I mean by that, basically I have a couple of brushes. Obviously you can get them for free on my Patreon. I have a couple of brushes and I use them. So there's like one for the lines, okay, I like it, hatch line or whatever. The other is halftones, the circles. I basically saw like in other art, mainly Samdo's art, and I really like that, so I'm using it also. But there was actually one from Sakimi-chan for actually rendering skin, and it's basically like dots that, I don't know, imitate skin pores or something. Yeah, it's pretty neat, so that's why I use it. So basically how I add textures is, okay, when I finish, okay, and it's after, obviously, step by step, it's after the light, okay, I add a new layer for every texture, basically, because sometimes I like to actually, draw it, erase it a little bit, and, make this kind of cool stuff. But yeah, first, what I do is I put the skin texture. I know, I just love the effect that it does. But yeah, then I do either the stripes or the halftones, okay? So basically for the skin texture, what I like to do is put it where the light is, okay? I like to make it lighter, sometimes a little bit darker, but yeah, it gives me a really good effect. And now the halftones, I like to actually put on, the rim light, okay, but also on some type of materials, sometimes maybe a little bit of skin. And stripes I like to actually put on hair mainly, and also add some outlines, okay, some faces, whatever. But the trick to do that is basically use it in transitions, okay, so between dark and light, and halfway that, yeah, I see that it makes a really cool effect. The other stuff, which is also really important, is adjusting colors, okay? And what I mean by that, basically after I did all those steps, I add a new layer, a new adjustment layer, and it's usually exposure and contrast, okay, curves, levels, and also color balance, okay? And I just have fun, slide the sliders, okay, and see how it looks. For actually exposure and contrast, I like to just put it a little bit to the, you know, more contrasty and more, you know, light or dark. It depends on the feeling that I want to show. Levels, I just like to put, you know, the left slider and right slider a little bit closer, okay? So it makes, you know, like more contrast basically. And less is more, remember, obviously with textures also less is more, okay? Don't overdo it. You gotta make like slight adjustment, okay? And I prefer actually to use one of them, okay? So basically always I use color balance, but exposure and, you know, brightness, I use one of the, I don't know, 3 or yeah, but basically have fun. And basically for color balance, I like to actually put, you know, there's darks, mids and highlights or something like that. And I like put darks into a more bluish, okay, colors. So maybe turn the blue slider a little bit more, okay, magenta maybe a little bit. And for highlights, I like to just put a little bit redder, yellower, or, you know, just make it warmer. Obviously a cool effect is also when you put, you know, your darks into more warmer and your highlights into more colder. But yeah, see what you like the best, okay? You can even make like cool colors. I don't know, with curves you can, you know, make them like a tsunami or whatever, and it makes you weird colors. Looks kind of good, so you can try it. And you can tell me in comments like which one of these you like the most and use the most, okay? So now for the next step, which is adding vignette. I don't know how it's pronounced, vignette, I don't know, whatever. But basically it adds depth, okay? I love adding it. It's basically, you know, you make a new layer, multiply layer, and you just, you know, take airbrush and make the corners darker. And what it does is it brings up to you the middle of the painting, okay? And yeah, and also it hides the less important stuff in your painting. So maybe, you know, the corners or like the, you know, the torso of the character, because it's, you know, not the main focal point. Also at this stage, I like to make a new layer, or on the same layer, I like to just, you know, darker some things up, okay? To make it, you know, better. But yeah, it's a cool way to add some, you know, depth in your painting. Now for the final effect, I like to add a couple of things, okay? So the first one is I just, whenever I finish the drawing, what I do is I basically, you know, select all the layers, convert them into another layer. And with this, I have all my previous layers, but now I have new combined layer. And on that, what I do is I go into filters, I add chromatic aberration. I like it. It actually adds a little bit of, you know, like coolness, okay? And I saw it in League of Legends illustrations. That's why I, you know, liked it, okay? And yeah, it basically, you know, like moves the color channels, the red, green, blue. It displays them a little bit, but also what I do is you have a point, okay, where you attach it, okay? And I put it on face, so the face doesn't have that, okay? I mean, like, you know, it has a very little of this, okay? And the corners are more chromatic, aberrated or whatever. Then I, you know, take this layer and I copy it, okay? I duplicate it. And then I make the duplicated layer on top of that. I add Gaussian blur. I put it around like 50 or I don't know, a little bit more. And after I press OK, what I do is I just erase, you know, the parts that I want to have the most focal point, okay? The most, you know, eyes on them. So basically, because we have like 2 layers, one blurred on top of the not blurred. Now, if we erase the blurred one, under that is, you know, the not blurred one. And it just, you know, gives you a depth. You can make a cool, you know, blur, Gaussian blur with that, okay? Also a lot of depth, okay? You can also hide less important stuff again, like, you know, the background or whatever. And just basically put the closer stuff in more focus and the further stuff with no focus, okay? It's basically like a camera. So yeah, just try for yourself, okay? But the next one is, I like it a lot. I saw that also in the, you know, League of Legends illustrations, splash arts, and basically it's adding noise. I like to add noise, okay? And also like in my sketches with flat colors, I used to add noise and it looks really cool. But yeah, for that I also go into filters, I add noise, add around like, I don't know, 5 or something, okay? Not too much because you don't want like a full noisy picture, but also not too little one to not notice it. But actually not noticing it is actually pretty cool. It's more for whenever you zoom in, you see the noise. It's pretty cool. So yeah, now for the bonus one. And for that, I like to make another layer on top of that, okay? And I like to add color dodge and, you know, like bring up a couple of places in the drawing, okay? So maybe a little bit, you know, like around the rim light, around the face, okay? Maybe some other stuff, I don't know, like put a color dodge and make your colors more interesting. Obviously, remember, less is more. Don't overdo it. As much as you can improve the drawing, okay? you can also easily break it with those. So you gotta be careful and, you know, just try them for yourself, okay? Actually, another bonus tip is do a couple of them, okay? So maybe, you know, copy the final one, change a little bit colors, copy it, okay? And like, you know, choose the best one. Also, another tip, I guess, is whenever I, you know, like put my drawings onto my phone and I adjust some sliders on the actually photo app, it also gives me, you know, like more interesting look. You can do that also. Yeah. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you can join my Patreon for tutorials and also my free brushes, okay? But also you can check out my socials, like, comment, subscribe, and, you know, I'll see you in the next one, so bye.